Welcome to Voices of the West from Dusty Saddle. Today we are talking to Leroy Peters, who's one of our esteemed, I guess you are our specialist in trappers and old mountain man type of lore type things. Welcome back, Leroy. Good to talk to you again.
It feels good to be back.
So recently you've done some interesting things getting out there beyond the world of writing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, back in June, I think it was June 18th to the 25th, I went to my very first convention, the Western Writers of America convention in Rapid City, South Dakota. It was the 70th annual Western Writers of America convention. And to say I had a great time is an understatement. I met first and foremost, two other Dusty Saddle authors, Ron Briggs and Bill Yen were there, and I hung out with them. I can't hear you.
Oh, it's
Your
just
voice was blacked out.
outstanding. Always good to meet up with other Dusty Saddle riders on things. What made you decide to travel to South Dakota for this?
Well, that's where it was being held, and um, I believe August of last year, I signed up to be a member of the Western Writers of America. Western Writers of America, their magazine, Roundup magazine, did a couple of reviews on my books, great reviews, and I thought it was something I wanted to do. I mean, I thought, my cousin encouraged it. He thought I needed a vacation, and while I was there, my fifth book in the saga of the Armstrong Brothers series, River of Dreams, was published while I was there. And I met, other than hanging out with Bill Yen and Ron Briggs, I had the pleasure of meeting Johnny D. Boggs, Johnny Gunn, and of course my favorite, W. Michael Gear and his wife Kathleen, who here's what happened. I had four of W. Michael Gear's books: Morning River, Coyote Summer, and the Flight of the Hawk series, and he autographed them for me. What I didn't know is that he had four of my books. He had all three Edge of the World trilogy books, and he had the first book in the saga of the Armstrong Brothers series, In the Heart of the West, and he asked me to autograph it for him. So that was something.
My goodness, that is really good news on that. You're going to get autographs?
And
Definitely want the autographs.
yeah, and I posted on Facebook, and while Ron, Bill, and I were walking through Rapid City, I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting Ernie LaPont, who is the great grandson of Sitting Bull, and and I kind of bumped into him by accident because like he kind of looked familiar. I didn't know, like I knew who Ernie LaPont was, but I didn't. When I saw him, I didn't recognize him. So, but he was wearing a Vietnam combat veteran hat. So, me being a veteran and he being a veteran, that's what made me go up and talk to him. And while we were talking, I introduced myself, and that's when he told me his name. And I'm like, "You're Sitting Bull's great grandson." And he said, "Yep." And it was an honor meeting him, man. He really nice guy, down to earth.
Excellent. So, what were your expectations going into this event versus what you actually got?
Um, I wasn't expecting to be so starstruck, but I was very starstruck. I met a whole lot of authors and members of the Western Writers of America. Also Robert Yoho and his wife Joellen, Rocky Gibbons, and also I met before, but um, Joseph M. Marshall III, who's a Lakota historian and also an actor. I met him on Friday. I first met him when I was a student at Montana State University. He spoke there talking about Crazy Horse. And to see him again after all this time, it was a pure honor.
Absolutely. So, what did you learn through your experiences there that's going to help
Um,
moving forward on things?
well, one thing Michael Gear and I talked about were my books, and I asked him for some advice. And one of the advice he gave me is I don't know if I'm not very good at it, but he told me to start editing my own writings, which I've never been good at. That's not one of my great strengths, but it was a very helpful advice. And always be humble. I mean, that's a given. And also, you know, I've always believed that you don't always have to agree with someone, and you can still be friends with someone you disagree with. But it was because there were a lot of people there, who I admired, and we were people from different beliefs, different religions, different politics, and but at the same time we all respected each other. And that's one of the things I wish, as a human race in this world, we can learn to live together. And that's what I felt when I was at Western Rise of American Convention. And it didn't bother. And one thing, it did not bother me that I was the only black person there. That did not bother me at all, because everyone treated me with respect.
Excellent.
And I felt just being there among, because some of these people have been writing since before I was born, and just to be among them was very humbling. And that, I hope I answer your question. That's the best way I can say that.
You have a lot of influence, or you have a lot of Native American influences going into your books on things. Did you learn anything or from meeting folks at WWA that's going to affect that in the future?
When I talked to Joseph Marshall, because one of the things, because I'm a Seventh Day Adventist Christian, and I believe in the Bible, but I also studied a lot of Native culture and their religious beliefs, like, and I've, based off my understanding of the Bible and based off some of the Native religions, I honestly believe that Christianity and some of the Native beliefs or religious beliefs or way of life is not that much different. And I know I met Cheyennes who I call Jesus Christ. The Cheyennes call Maheo, and the Arapaho call Man Above, and the Blackfeet call Napi, and the Lakota call Wakantanka. But when I met Joseph, when I talked to Joseph Marshall about it, um, I asked him, "Is there a possibility, off from based off from my understanding of the Bible and my understanding of the Lakota way of life, is there a possibility that Wakantanka and Jesus Christ are the same person?" And he said no. Um, it was very hard for me to swallow, because if you, and it doesn't change how I view Joseph M. Marshall or the Lakota people. That does not change anything. But it's like, for the word Wakantanka means great mystery or the great spirit. And one of the reasons why I believe that Jesus Christ, or who I call Jesus Christ, and who like many of the tribes call the creator or the great mystery or the great spirit, is because I have found in the King James Bible, both Old and New Testament, the word creator, the word mystery, and the word spirit used an awful lot when describing who God is. And my thing is, and I feel this is where the missionaries went wrong. I feel that the missionaries didn't bother to study, learn from the Indians and their way of life. And also, they came with a very racist attitude. Like, it was their way or the highway. And so that and that's what I believe, and that's why I incorporate it in many of my novels. That's why many of my main characters are ahead of their time as far as race relations and religion is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Mr. Marshall, I still have great respect for the man. He's a wonderful human being, and he was not the last person who told me that Wakan Tonk and Jesus Christ were not the same person. The hotel I was staying at, or Motel 6 in Rapid City, there was a young lady who works there. She is Lakota, and she told me the same thing. But it doesn't. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate it in my future novels, but it doesn't change how I view American Indians or their way of life. I have great respect for them, and nothing can justify what was done to them, what's still being done to them in America. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it.
Hmm. Very true. So, what would be your top memory from the whole WWA week and extravaganza going on there? Usually, those are just continuous blur of people flying every direction and sound and light and all that kind of thing.
Well, just meeting other authors and meet also again meeting Ernie LaPont, sitting his great grandson. I mean, I was only there for a week, and but talking and hanging out with, I spent the day with Ron Briggs, and we went to Custer Memorial Park, and that was fun. And just hanging out with them. And also while I was there, I managed to drive to the Crow Reservation to visit some friends I went to school with at Montana State, and they just built a new stadium on the Crow Reservation, and they honor that they had a powwow and they were honoring those who served in the military. And when the Air Force came up, I asked if I could go and dance with them, and they allowed me to dance. So that was fun. A
That would,
little embarrassing since I don't have any rhythm. So
well, we all do what we can.
yeah, but it
So,
that was like the best vacation I've ever had in my entire life. And I've had a lot of good vacations, but that was the best one. My mom says because you were by yourself. So hey,
hey, if that's what it takes, that's always a beautiful thing there too.
agreed.
So, overall progress check. Now, what are you working on right now?
Like I said, my newest novel, Saga of the Armstrong Brothers, River of Dreams, just got published in June, and it's doing well. It's in the top 100 on Kindle. I was planning on writing the sixth book probably this week. I haven't decided if it's going to be the last book in the Armstrong Brothers series. 'Cause I would like to start another series, also set in the fur trade, probably around the War of 1812. But I'm just like I said, I'm just taking my time, and I've already published two books this year. So I'll probably before the year's out, I'll probably write and publish a third one. But on average, I publish 3 to 4 books a year. So that's basically what I'm doing right now.
That's a good pace, absolutely. So, what would
And
you advise to people that would be interested in WWA, both in terms of membership and in terms of them, should they be going to this event?
oh, they should definitely go to this event. Also, if to be a member, you only pay $75 a year, so it's affordable. The membership is affordable, and I know the next convention is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I'll be going to next summer. And I advise all authors, Western authors, to sign up for the Western Writers of America convention. On a sad note, when I got back, one of my favorite authors, in fact, the very first author whose books I read about the fur trade, Wim Blevins, he died July 2nd. The it was Yeah, it was the day before I had my book signing when I went home, and he lived a long life though. He was 84, I think, and when I start writing my next book, I plan on dedicating it to him because it was his Rendezvous series that got me definitely interested in fur trade novels, and he was his Rendezvous series was the very first books that I read set in the fur trade. Um, yeah, so when I start writing the sixth book, I already have the synopsis and title down. I title it "Where the Eagles Fly," and basically, it sets in 1836, and the Armstrong brothers. The fur trade is has already peaked. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's on the verge of collapse.
silk hats
Yeah.
have already replaced fur beaver, so the brothers and their families have taken up escorting, have decided to try escorting settlers to California. And the problem they're dealing with is some of the settlers don't want to take orders. It's bad enough that they don't want to take, some of the settlers are racist. They don't want to take orders from quote unquote squaw men or their Indian relatives. And there's a character who basically, he's a white guy who wants to marry a white guy from Alabama who fell in love with one of his family's, one of his father's slaves. And because his family ain't having that, he helped her escape, and they're trying to flee to California with bounty hunters on their tail. So they're among this group of settlers, and because the Armstrong brothers and their families are anti-slavery, they're they're willing to help them out. So I mean, that's the synopsis.
Nice. Yeah.
And if I don't start writing this week, I'll probably start writing this weekend. So, but I hope to finish it before the year's out.
Looking forward to receiving that and looking forward to putting together a cover on that and continuing your overall success on things.
Thank you, man. Like I said, River of Dreams is doing very well, and also not last month I managed to get a I think notes. I managed to get a profile on fantasticfiction.com. It's a it's a website that promotes books of all genres. Some all the Western authors have profiles from Lane Rowensky to W. Michael Gear, John Legg, Dave Robbins, even the late Terry Johnstone and the late Wim Blevins had profiles on all their books, and so it feels good. I think that may have increased my sales last month just to
Nice.
have that profile on it. So I'm grateful for that.
That's a good tip for everybody watching this to go out and do as well.
Yep. And again, encourage I encourage all authors, if you're not a member of Western Writers of America yet, join. Their website is, I think, www.wwa or Western, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but you can go on Yahoo and look
Type
them
in
up.
Western Writers of America, and it comes up first on your Google hits, so it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, the dues are only $75 a year. That's cheap. So, and I and like I said, they've already reviewed a lot of my books. They're going to review um, um in their next magazine. I already sent book 4 and book 5 of the Armstrong brothers to Johnny D. Boggs for review. So, but they've done very well in reviewing my books.
Always good to have another set of eyes reading things, particularly if it's going to be Johnny Boggs.
Yep, he is a good guy. Meeting him face to face was nice. And also I continue to encourage a lot of up and coming authors. If you're looking for a publisher, come to Dusty Saddle. Please stay away from self publishing. I mean, Dusty Saddle Publishing has been good. I did meet some competition from other publisher. Like I met people from Wolfpack Publishing, and they were very polite to me. Also, like I said, it may have been we may not always agree with each other, but we can still love and respect each other. So
Yeah, we all
and
have
that's what I loved about
appreciation for
being
the
at Western
West.
Writers American Convention.
Yeah,
Huh?
we all have a great appreciation for the West and for everybody putting efforts into doing the same thing we all are doing.
Yeah. And like I said, what attracts me to the fur trade is that it's before Manifest Destiny. It's before the Civil War, and like I said, I think it's one of the most peaceful times, which isn't saying much. It was the most peaceful times between Indians and non-Indians alike, because there weren't that many non-Indians living out west. The trappers and the traders only made 2% of the population max, and
If
you
that.
know, yes, and also west of the Mississippi River, any man, black, white, Mexican can be their own person. They can they can truly live the way I see it. The Indians had it right, being self-reliant and living off the land. That's you got to respect that, and that's what I like to write about.
Yeah, anybody in that time period, whoever you were kind of a novelty, particularly if you ran into Indians and such like that. They were more interested in what you were more necessarily than what you were up to at that point.
Yeah, and I just and right now sorry, I'm just moving around. I'm I've been rereading my Edge of the World trilogy, and I'm very happy at what I accomplished. When I like to reread a lot of stuff I've written, and I can only hope that a lot of American Indians who read my books are I hope I do right by them, and because like one of my goals as a writer is to avoid the whole white savior complex that plagues a lot of quote unquote pro black or pro American Indian stories. My only thing with that is if it was a true story like Glory and Free State of Jones, then I don't think anyone should complain about it. But you know, like when I saw Dance with Wolves, you know, a lot of American Indians thought it was a good movie, but they had a problem with the whole white savior concept, which I can understand. So I tried to, as an author who's neither white nor Indian, I tried to avoid that. And I know in my fourth book of the Armstrong Brothers series, The Hunter's Dawn, you see that I put a lot of like the saviors are mostly the Indians in that. I try to put a lot of that in it. River of Dreams, I don't know if you read it yet. That was basically Armstrong brothers and their families come to St. Louis, not just to sell the pews, but also to see how basically how whites lived. And many, that was sort of an eye opener for many of their native relatives who never been east of the Mississippi River. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm getting a lot of positive reviews on that book.
Yeah, it's a very good perspective to be able to put everything into. Of course, that entire time period is just clash of cultures and some good, mostly bad, as with everything.
Yeah, I mean it's one one thing that that I value is friendship and loyalty, and you you know if and I'm happy to say I still, even though I no longer live in Montana, I still keep in contact with people I went to school with over there. Most of them are American Indians, and I consider them family. I don't just consider them friends; I consider them family. And you know, if I wasn't if I had to do it over again, I probably would never left Montana. But hey, sometimes God's ways are not our ways, so that's the best I can say about that.
Indeed, and who knows where the future takes you.
Yep.
Could end up back there again. You never know.
Well, when I was in South Dakota, I drove 4 hours to the Crow Reservation in Montana. And even though I only spent a day, it was good to see my friend Candy and her husband Lee and their grandsons, and they just welcomed another grandchild. So I'm great. God is definitely good. So
Absolutely.
I have a lot to be thankful for. And did I tell you I became a granduncle back in January?
I saw it online.
Yeah, my grandnephew is getting big. He's 6 months old now. He's got two teeth coming in, and he's crawling now.
All right.
So he's like his mom. He's getting big. I mean, I remember when his mom was that small, and I mean, I'm getting old.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah, my cousin keeps reminding me, you ain't you ain't no spring chicken no more, boy. I'm gonna be 40. I'm gonna be 45 in December.
Yeah.
But I have no complaints, man. I hope to live a long, good life. So
That's the best you can hope for. Long, good life, lots of friends, lots of family.
Yep. I don't. Sorry, I don't mean to get off topic. But like I said, a lot of the characters in my books are mimicked after my father because he set a good example for me, and I guess that's why I value loyalty and friendship. And also, I strongly believe in treating people the way you want to be treated, and that's how my characters are. And this, if and when I start this next series coming up, hope probably possibly next year, I'd say the characters. I'll probably say this series is probably more personal because the character be more me, and I think some things you might not like him. I mean, he's not a bad person, but he one of the reasons why he leaves home is that he can't stand his family. a lot while a lot of the characters in the books that I've written so far, they were either forced to leave home or there was nothing left for them to keep them staying at home. So I think this is something. I think when I'm done with this next book, I think the next series, hopefully, people will be impressed. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out a name for the character.
I'm
Yeah,
something
man,
appropriate will
that's what's going on
inspire
in
you
the
in time.
cranium.
Yeah.
That's what's going on in the mind of Leroy Peters, man.
All right. So where can people go out there and friend Leroy Peters and find out more about you and all that kind of stuff for that? Get all the fans to be able
The
to.
easiest, or right now, the easiest way is to go on fantasticfiction.com. Just type in www.fantasticfiction.com. There's an author section. Type in Leroy A. Peters, and it'll take you to my profile. All my books are on there, including my two self-published books that I don't care about. But um, the profile is linked to Amazon, but that's the easiest way. It's easier than just going on Amazon.
Excellent. Get everything all in one place. Well, Leroy, thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, it was my pleasure, man. And it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And the convention sounded extremely inspiring and something to keep you motivated moving forward on. It sounded a very good thing. Thanks for sharing
Yes, like I
today.
said, I encourage all authors. If you're not a member of Western Writers of America yet, join.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Leroy.
My pleasure.